Mr. Pato made his first official call to the Foreign Affairs and Trade Department today at a time when the Manus Asylum Processing Center is hitting headlines. He says he'd like to find out what exactly the Australian government has planned, and that will happen once he meets with Ambassador for People Smuggling, Greg Chittick. This is taking place about now.
And we need to obtain all the technical information ourselves in terms of what internal arrangements we will make ourselves to facilitate that. But at the political level, there is an understanding that this is the way forward, and PNG, as a friend of Australia, is willing to assist.
Despite all the political talk, Mr. Pato says there is no agreement as yet.
Well, there has been a request, but not formally in the sense of one in writing, but the understanding is there. At the political level, we've agreed that we will open the facility subject to working out a suitable arrangement.
Flashback to 2004, and this is what the Manus Asylum Center looked like. A well-kept getaway, if you like. At the time this footage was taken, Aladdin Sasalin was the last remaining refugee.
Just to clean their faces in front of the Australian Federal Court. But it doesn't work, so they kept me again inside.
Where do you really want to go?
Well, the most of the detainees who was detained here was taken by New Zealand. So I guess New Zealand government is sympathetic, or they understand situation like my situation.
The Australian High Commission in Port Moresby confirmed that Julia Gillard spoke to Prime Minister Peter O'Neill on the 14th of August about the recommendations of the expert panel on asylum seekers and the proposed legislative amendment intended to authorize offshore processing on Manus Island. If the required legislation passes in the Australian Parliament, Australia's Ambassador for People Smuggling Issues, Greg Chittick, will travel to Manus Island tomorrow. He will inspect the possible locations for the processing facilities and meet with officials from Manus Island and the provincial government. Ambassador Chittick will be accompanied to Manus Island by a reconnaissance team led by the Australian Defence Force, which will assess what needs to be done to construct a temporary facility with a view to commencing the processing of asylum seekers on Manus Island within a month's time. Meanwhile, visiting Reverend Tim Costello, who is the CEO of World Vision Australia, doesn't agree with Australia using Manus as an asylum processing centre.
Look, my main concern about this is it is a thesis we're going to test. Will opening Nauru and Manus Island stop the boats? If it doesn't stop the boats, then the thesis, isn't proven, and we'll have to say, okay, what's this about? The other concern, frankly, is we've said there's to be no advantage test in Australia. We really need to make sure this isn't leaving people in detention for longer than 12 months, where literally children get disturbed and people go mad and their mental health just crumbles. These are concerns about fundamental human rights.
Also opposed to the idea are the Greens Party of Australia and other non-governmental organisations.